So we've done the Greeks and we've done the Israelites. And today we discuss the Persians. And today I introduce to you the most influential person who has ever lived. And his name is Zarathustra. Okay? And Zarathustra will create the world's first great religion, world religion, called Zoroastrianism. And this will lead to the rise of the world's first great empire called the Persian Achaemenid Empire. Okay? So to understand Zarathustra, let's go back and understand how we humans have traditionally understood the world. Okay? So intuitively, we've understood that the world is one of consciousness. Okay? The universe is conscious and it's constantly vibrating. Okay? These vibrations are infinite. And the lower that the vibrations go, the slower they are, and therefore they give rise to matter. Okay? And that gives rise to humans. So we both inhabit the material universe, but our minds inhabit the spiritual universe. And as a result, when we vibrate as well, our consciousness returns to the universe. Okay? So we're in constant dialogue with the universe. Now, this is hard to understand, so we've used metaphors or stories to explain this system. All right, so let's go over how we've explained the system using metaphors. So this is God. Okay, the God is called the monad, or the one, or nous. But there are different names for this God. And this God is perfect. The problem with perfection is that you lack imagination, you lack creativity. And that's why when God emanates, He created us, okay, humans. Why? Because we are material. We have bodies, and therefore we are imperfect. What this means is that when we hit a wall, we feel pain. We can fall down, we can die, we can suffer, we can make mistakes. But at the same time, it is through constantly making mistakes, disobedience, fallibility, that we are able to be creative, okay? And as a result, both God and we are in the process of becoming. Okay? We are becoming into perfection. We are becoming into eternity and infinity. And so we are co-creators with God. Now, there are certain characteristics about the system that you have to remember. Okay? First of all, in the system, we need to have free will. Because only by having complete freedom can we be truly creative. If the monad is controlling us, then there can't be any creativity. It's all intentional, it's all planned, okay? So free will is very important. Another very, very important idea is the individual. Okay? So how the system works is, what matters is what happens inside of us. Okay? Because only us individually can give rise to creativity. And so it is our interactions with the monad that's important. Okay? Another way of saying this is that, use a metaphor. Okay? The metaphor is a candle. A candle. Sorry, this is a bad drawing. Okay? Candle. And we are all mirrors surrounding this candle. And we are all, the candle is reflected in us. Okay? So the monad is in us, and we're all part of the monad together. So what happens is, what happens to us individually, okay? Another very important part of this is its eternity, okay? Reincarnation. And the idea here is that when you die, you just don't disappear. Your consciousness returns to the spirit world. Why? Because maybe in this world, you made a lot of mistakes. And because you made a lot of mistakes, you can't really appreciate all the pain you've caused. So when you return to the spirit world, then it's a time for you to reflect and understand your significance on this world, okay? And so the idea is that if you've done a lot of good in this world, if you've been virtuous, you ascend to a higher plane. And if you did a lot of bad things, then you stay in the lower realm, okay? And this is the idea of heaven and hell. Why? Because if you did a lot of good, first of all, you can appreciate all the good you've done, and you can be closer to the monad. Okay? If you've done a lot of bad, then you will see for yourself all the hurt you've caused in the world. Okay? And you'll be further down from the monad. So this is how intuitively we've understood the universe to work. Okay? When we're born almost with an intuitive understanding of this. Okay? The problem is that as our populations continue to grow and grow, eventually we have war. Okay? And war gives rise to patriarchy and property. Why? Because how do you incentivize people to go fight? Well, you promise them this wife will be yours, okay? You'll be the master of the household, and whatever you win, whether it's gold or whatever, it will be yours forever, okay? And so these three things, war, patriarchy, and property, are all interlinked together, okay? And this, you can argue, gives rise to the idea of capital. Remember, when we last discussed the Bronze Age, the Bronze Age was the height of capital, and therefore it was the height of war, slavery, corruption, okay, violence, evil in this world. And in this time, there will emerge prophets, the port prophets, who come and tell us that what we're doing is wrong. And we must remember who we came from originally, okay? We must remember that we are part of the monad, and that we're here to celebrate life, not to destroy life. To be creative, not to be destructive. To love, not to make war. Okay? And so, during the Bronze Age, emerges a man named Zarathustra. And he is a port prophet, just like Homer and the Yahwehs. And he's dealing with a situation, okay? We've entered a system where war, patriarchy, and property are prevalent. And we can't imagine a world without these things. So now he has to create a new system. He has to present for his poetry new ideas that help us return to the monad, okay? And so he creates the beginnings of a new world religion called Zoroastrianism. Okay, so let's go over the basic ideas. So remember that this is a polytheistic world where you fight for your god. And the gods don't really care about what's good and what's evil. All they care about is themselves. So you celebrate them, you make sacrifices to them. If you give them enough money, if you bribe them well enough, then you win wars, okay? So that's a system that we call polytheism. So what Zoroaster does is that he reimagines the system and creates a new hierarchy where a Zoroaster is the top god, okay? And you can call him the monad as well. And for Zarathustra, Zoroaster is the Lord of Wisdom, okay? It literally translates into Lord of Wisdom. And he's represented by the idea of fire, okay? So what is Zoroastrianism in Chinese? It's 白火教, right? 白火教, okay? The religion of white fire. It's a religion of wisdom. And what then he also says is that the war of heaven and hell is within us. Okay? And there are two forces that tear at us, that divide us, okay? The first is the force of Asha. And the second is the force of Zhush. Okay, these ideas are hard to translate, but Asha just means truth, and Zhush means the lie. Okay? So the Greeks really admire the Persians. And what they said about the Persians is the Persians are good at three things. They're good at horse riding, they're good at archery, and they're good at telling the truth. The Persians find it abhorrent, hateful to lie. So they're always telling the truth, okay? But that's a very simplistic understanding of the system. Telling the truth is not what Asha is, right? What Asha really is a system of virtue. Okay? by being virtuous, by doing good in the world, you become closer to our master. You become his representative on earth. So to better understand this idea, all right, I'm going to introduce to you another concept called the categorical imperative. Okay, so Immanuel Kant. So we don't know when Zarathustra lived, okay? But he lived about 3,000 years ago. Immanuel Kant is the 18th century, okay? So he's closer to our time. And he introduces a concept called the categorical imperative. For him, the categorical imperative is the highest moral law, the highest moral good, what we all should strive to. And what I will show you is that it's very similar to the concept of asha.